Peiji and I are both born villains. He covets my royal sister, building a secret chamber for her. I have a crush on his cousin, sending him drugged wine. Yet, we lay down together. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful stories every day. Now the story begins. The moonlight was at its peak. The maid was applying my makeup. In the mirror, the girl had dark hair, red lips, slightly upturned eyes, and a straight, delicate nose. A white jade magnolia hairpin adorns the side of her hair. She is a beauty. Cheongji pushed the door open and entered, dismissing the surrounding maids. Princess, minister when drank the prepared wine and suddenly suffered a severe headache, so I helped him to rest in the guest room. Good, perfect. I draped on the light gauze outer garment and casually instructed, no need to follow. Setting down the entwined lotus palace lantern, I pushed the door open with a creak and walked in. The room was pitch dark. Behind the screen, on the canopy bed, lay the one I loved, Minister of Rights. When Zhaoxue, hearing the noise, he struggled to rise, knocking over the surrounding items, which crashed and scattered all over the floor. I softened my voice. Don't be afraid, I am Xie. A faint, trembling voice came from the inner room. Do not light the lamp. At this moment, his face was flushed, and he looked utterly disheveled, surely not wanting to be seen by anyone. I sat down by the bed. I caressed his face, tracing the contours of his brows and eyes in detail. The night was still long, the warm hibiscus-scented bed. We spent the night of spring together. I became acquainted with Wen Zhaoxue at the Imperial Academy. Others praised him as a modest gentleman, gentle and refined like jade, but behind my back, they gossiped, calling me an arrogant, domineering princess who flaunted her favor and acted willfully. Gossip-mongers, both male and female, have existed since ancient times. We must not fuel their arrogance. I lay in the rattan chair, watching them being punished, and curled my lips into a smile. If I ever hear such rumors again, I will have your tongues cut out. When Zhaoxue happened to pass by and heard the screams, he pleaded with me. Your Highness is tolerant and benevolent. Please spare them this once. Unfortunately, neither tolerance nor benevolence has anything to do with me. I am a princess who repays every slight. From then on, Wen Zhaoxue's surprises never ceased. Yesterday, the desk was flooded. Today the homework went missing. Tomorrow a stumble while walking. Such incidents were too numerous to count. I thought he would hate me. But that day, I disrupted the lecture, and in his fury, the instructor told me to get out. Perfectly suits my intentions. The lesson was dull and tedious. I might as well go back to sleep. I got up and left. The winter was bitterly cold, with swirling snowflakes falling heavily, dusting my brows and hair with specks of snow. Suddenly, a green bamboo-ribbed umbrella appeared over my head. Looking up, it was Wen Zhaoxue holding the umbrella. He frowned deeply. Your Highness, you are too willful. As a princess, what's wrong with being a little willful? None of your business. I return the words of the Director of Studies verbatim. Get lost. Wen Zhaoxue's backbone is not as strong as mine. Otherwise, he wouldn't have escorted me all the way. He didn't turn to leave until I stepped onto the carriage back to the palace. On my coming-of-age ceremony, I asked Wen Zhaoxue, would you be willing to become my consort? He cupped his hands and replied, I beg your pardon, but I cannot comply. Everyone knew that Princess Rongan was the Emperor's most favored daughter. Marrying the princess would pave a smooth path to an official career, but he refused. He insisted on striving for it himself. The outcome turned out quite well. He was appointed as the top scholar and given the position of Vice Minister of Rights. Yesterday, I brought gifts to their door, and the smile on my lips suddenly froze. I saw, at the lakeside pavilion, the gauze curtains fluttered in the wind, when Zhaoxue raised a wine glass, chatting happily with the girl beside him. A few moments later, he stood up, admiring the beautiful scenery with the girl, sharing heartfelt words with each other. Then, he took her hand and kissed her forehead. I watched coldly. My dress all crumpled. The ladder to heaven, who wouldn't like it? When Zhaoxue was no exception, rejecting me, it turns out, was to cling to someone better. Princess Xieling of Qinghe, my imperial sister, is also a princess who aspires to sit on the dragon throne. Snap, following the sound. I looked over. Beneath the tree stood a tall, elegant figure. A shard of porcelain had cut his palm, blood dripping freely, yet he seemed completely unaware. my gaze remained fixed on that perfect couple. I saw in his eyes the same jealousy as in mine. Interesting, I have a crush on my cousin Peiji, while Peiji covets my royal sister. The four of us are truly two perfect matches made in heaven. After returning to the princess's residence, I ordered Cheongji to invite Wen Zhaoxue over and specially prepared fine wine for him. It was laced with the Jiu poison, jade cardamom, gifted to me by the Miao border saintess. This poison is colorless and odorless. Wen Zhaoxue drank it without any suspicion. From then on, every half-month, he would suffer from the poison's effects. I am his only antidote. Just like this moment, the next day, I was the first to wake up. I picked up the clothes from the floor and put them on one by one. Then I returned to the bedside and nudged Wen Zhaoxue. He lifted his eyelids and looked around. Our eyes met. I froze instantly. Lying on the bed was not Wen Zhaoxue, but his cousin, the censor-in-chief, Peiji, though the two looked similar. Peiji had a crimson mole beneath his eye, vivid and striking. Wen Zhaoxue had never been, so, I slept with the wrong person. Boom, my mind went completely blank. By the time I sorted out my thoughts, Peiji had already remembered what happened last night. His eyes darkening abruptly, out of the corner of my eye, I caught sight of the incense burner on the wooden stand at the foot of the bed, and I was just about to reach for it, but he grabbed my wrist first. A cold smile curling at the corner of his mouth as he said, word by word, Your Highness, I intend to impeach you. The last person who tried to impeach me, the grass on their grave is already 3 meters high. I curved my eyes into a smile. Lord Pei, you now have half an incense stick's worth of time to get dressed. Peiji remained motionless, yet his lips parted and closed, scolding me for being absurd. Fine words can't persuade a doomed soul. I lost my patience and called Cheongji in. Your Highness, seeing an outsider, Peiji turned pale, hurriedly trying to tie his inner robe, his hands trembling uncontrollably. Knock him out. With a swift chop of her hand, Cheongji silenced Peiji's muttering, and he settled into a peaceful sleep. I gazed at his sleeping face. His complexion was as flawless as jade, his eyelashes fluttered gently, his clothes hung loosely on his body. If Peiji were to be thrown onto the streets in such a state, it's uncertain whether he could still hold onto his position as the censor-in-chief. By then, what leverage would he have to impeach me? He pondered for a long while. I still straightened his clothes for him. I casually took the doublefish jade pendant tied to his outer robe. I heard it was a keepsake left by Peiji's mother. He treasured it deeply. Cheongji, see Lord Pei home. Just say he drank too much last night and felt dizzy, so he rested at the princess's residence. I sighed. All of this was for the sake of his face. Peiji was helped onto the carriage. I chased after him and stuffed the still wet letter into his chest, waiting for him to wake and see it. That expression would surely be priceless. I waved to summon the shadow guard. Go keep an eye on Peiji, record his every word and action, and report back to me. The carriage gradually disappeared into the distance. Cheongji brought the fish food, ready to accompany me to feed the koi in the lake. As we passed through the corridor, strange sounds came from the rockery nearby. I stopped in my tracks. Who dares to be so reckless as to engage in such indecency in broad daylight at the princess's residence? Cheongji understood immediately and turned to drag 2 people out. As it happened, I knew both of them. The man was a trusted advisor of the emperor, and the woman was the personal maid of the princess. The maid's hair was disheveled as she knelt with a thud. I beg your highness to stand up for your humble servant. The first princess ordered me to deliver a message, but on the way, I encountered this scoundrel who pulled and tugged at me, insisting I go drink with him. The advisor grabbed her fair wrist. I am the crown prince's advisor. Offering you a drink is an honor. How dare you refuse? Are you not disrespecting the crown prince's dignity? Croak, croak, croak. It was extremely irritating to listen to. I pointed at the man and said, your excessive lustful desires will likely prevent you from focusing on serving his highness. Cheongji, go and castrate him. Consider it a way to ease the emperor's worries. Yes. Cheongji drew her dagger and struck swiftly. The advisor screamed in agony, struggling to crawl away. Blood trailed along the floor. I pointed at the woman again. I probably won't like what she has to say. Throw her out. Xie Yunlian was furious and wanted to settle the score with me. Rongan, you knew very well that he was useful to me, yet you took half his life. Do you still see me as your elder brother? A school of koi fish gathered at my feet, fighting over the food. I retorted coldly. Does he even see me as a princess in his eyes? Who gave him the audacity to commit violence in the princess's residence? Besides, the person he manhandled is someone close to Xieling. Isn't that just handing her evidence on a silver platter? Xie Yunlian, unable to out-argue me, stormed off in a huff. Before leaving, he gave me a meaningful glance. If my mother were still alive, you wouldn't dare to act this way, but she has long been dead. It was I who personally closed her coffin. After this commotion, I was somewhat displeased. Cheongji said softly, the jewelry studio has released many new pieces. Would your highness be interested in taking a look? I did have that intention. The shopkeeper recommended some new items to me, among which was a tourmaline peony and insect hairpin that was exceptionally beautiful. Cheongji inserted it into my hair for me. I was looking into the mirror when, with a whoosh, a cold arrow shot over. Cheongji reacted quickly and pushed me aside. The arrow tip grazed my cheek and embedded itself in the wall. The crowd was in turmoil. The Imperial Guards rushed out, forming a human wall, protect the princess, in broad daylight, within the Imperial City. Someone actually wanted to kill me. Too bold. The killer was quickly caught, and before I could interrogate him, he bit his tongue and killed himself. The hidden guard removed his mask. Cheongji recognized him. This person was none other than Peiji's personal guard. They had just met in the early morning. The night was gloomy, with a storm brewing. I rushed to Peiji's residence. The servant tried to stop me, but I kicked him aside. Peiji's bedchamber was empty. I clapped my hands, and the hidden guard I had dispatched earlier leaped down from the roof, reporting to the princess. Lord Pei has gone to the secret chamber. There must be something hidden in this secret room. I am filled with excitement. The hidden guard leads the way. Activating the mechanism behind the bookshelf, the wall opens. Cheongji held the fire starter for illumination. The secret chamber was completely visible at a glance. After seeing clearly, Cheongji suddenly lowered her head, and the hidden guard immediately closed his eyes. I was also stunned, realizing what was happening. I had them guard the door and not allow anyone to enter. In the dim, flickering firelight, Peiji, with his robes half undone, knelt before a portrait of a beautiful woman. His face was frighteningly red. That painting depicts my royal sister's profile, and such portraits fill the entire secret chamber, from every angle. Leaving nothing to be desired, I curled the corner of my lips. Peiji is truly deeply in love. Hearing the sound, he looked up from the portrait. Your Highness. He was already unconscious. It was unclear which Highness he was calling for. The letters I had written to him were scattered on the floor. It read, Lord Pei has been poisoned with the jade cardamom toxin, which flares up every half-moon. The only antidote is to share intimacy with the one who administered the poison. I advise you to watch your words and actions carefully. Additionally, in the initial stage of this poison, the symptoms will persist for 3 consecutive days. May Lord Pei find his own fortune. Signed, Xie Wn. Peiji's gaze was unfocused. I lifted his chin. Kneel and beg me. He caught my ankle, repeating after me, Your Highness, I beg you. So obedient, I bit his finger until it bled, grasping his hand and pressing it against the red mole beneath his eye, like this. It wouldn't be so conspicuous then. I stayed at Peiji's residence for 2 days. He looked grim as he saw me off, dressed all in white. He could be called an upright gentleman, gentle and refined like jade. I leaned close to his ear, and he instinctively turned his head away. The golden chain in Lord Pei's secret chamber is truly exquisite. It must have taken a great deal of effort to craft. Was it prepared for Xieling? If I were to tell her, given her temperament, do you think she would kill you? His face instantly turned pale, but I couldn't say it, because I was actually hoping he would steal Xieling's heart. That way, when Zhaoxue would be mine. Before stepping onto the carriage, I took a double fish jade pendant from Cheongji. Slowly fastening it around my waist, Peiji's gaze lingered at my waist. Clenching his fists, he gritted his teeth and called me Your Highness. In front of everyone, he dared not come and snatch it. I blinked innocently. Lord Pei, I look forward to our next meeting, in a few days. It will be time for the autumn hunt. All civil and military officials will be in attendance. Peiji and Wen Zhaoxue are among them. In the golden autumn of October, the royal hunt was underway. Xieling called me over. Saying she wanted to catch up, I reluctantly lifted the tent flap. A surprised cry came from inside. Xieling parted from her male companion, twirling a strand of hair around her finger. I sat down beside her. I plan to ask father for a marriage decree, she said casually. My heart tightened. Who has caught your eye? Sister, of course. Xieling drew out her words, deliberately building suspense. It's the Vice Minister of Rights. Wen Zhaoxue, noticing my sudden change in expression. She curved her lips into a faint smile. A forced melon is not sweet. When you see him in the future, you must call him brother-in-law. Nails dug into the flesh, a faint trace of blood seeped out. I forced a smile. Your Highness, you jest. If you don't force it, there won't even be a melon left, leaving Xieling's tent. I was so furious that I tore my newly made dress to shreds. The floor was covered in scraps of fabric. When Peizhi entered, he was startled by the sight. I put down the scissors and asked impatiently, "What is it?" He looked troubled, as if finding it hard to speak. Your Highness, the middle of the month is approaching. Oh, the poison is about to take effect. I crooked my finger. He leaned in closer. Kill Xieling, and I will help you. Peizhi stepped back a few paces. Frowning, Your Highness, you must not. What? Can't bear to do it, I sneered maliciously. Then just wait to die. Now, get out. Peizhi's face drained of color. Yet he maintained his composure. He bowed respectfully and took his leave. I called out to him from behind. Peizhi, aren't you really hoping that Xieling was the one who poisoned you? Too bad, it was me. But you must understand, this poison wasn't meant for you. You were just unlucky. Insisting on attending the banquet in Wen Zhaoxue's place at that very moment, I have never thought of it that way. Peizhi's steps faltered, and he staggered away unsteadily. I'm curious to see if he can still be this polite when the poison takes effect. The sound of a deer call echoed through the hunting grounds. A doe was lured out. The crowd raced to chase and encircle the prey, with Xieling at the forefront, drawing his bow and shooting an arrow, when Zhaoxue followed closely by his side. My riding skills are average. With Chengxi's help, I managed to mount the horse. Xie Yunlian reined in his horse beside me, saying, Rongan, you'd better not go. I refused to listen. I slapped the horse's side and galloped away. When I caught up with Xieling, she had already taken the lead. She was just then tidying up the hunt with Wen Zhaoxue. I deliberately tried to annoy her. Elder sister, you're truly impressive. I heard the reward for taking the lead this time is the final masterpiece of the master swordsmith Gongsun Sheng, crafted during his seclusion, famous sword Clearstream. She looked up. You like it, I said sourly, of course. But unfortunately, Xieling cut me off directly. It's yours. Ah, could this possibly be a head of lettuce, to be given away so casually? I was just about to retort. The familiar whoosh sound suddenly rang out. A cold arrow left the bowstring, shooting straight toward Xieling's face. When Zhaoxue shielded her from the front, I wanted to rush over, but the arrows didn't stop at just one. Arrows from other directions pierced through my shoulder. Peizhi suddenly appeared from nowhere, dragging me away through the hail of arrows. He was a civil official, not skilled in martial arts. He had no choice but to flee with me under the cover of the hidden guards. I wanted to tell him he had grabbed the wrong person. Xieling was on the other side, but I couldn't bring myself to say it. The excruciating pain made me pass out. When I woke up, I was on Peizhi's back. The wound on my shoulder had been roughly treated, and blood was seeping through, staining his clothes. I was about to speak, only to find my voice alarmingly hoarse. My throat could only produce a rasping sound. Peizhi paused in his steps. Your Highness, please refrain from speaking. If you have questions, you may write them on my back. How clever. I wrote. What about Xieling? Peizhi replied to me. When Zhaoxue should be fine. Damn it. Does he even know how to read? I angrily went to choke his neck. Peizhi coughed violently, then turned his head and added, Princess Qinghe ran away with him. Only then was I satisfied. Out of the corner of my eye, I noticed his flushed face and rapid breathing. Could it be that he was hit by an arrow too? Peizhi quickly gave me the answer. He set me down, panting heavily, and said, Your Highness, I can't walk any further. The poison of the jade cardamom is about to take effect. Please, Your Highness, crawl away on your own. There happened to be a cave nearby. I kicked him and said, Carry me over. I took off my belt and covered Peizhi's eyes. Then I kissed him. Actually, I had known Peizhi longer than Wen Zhaoxue. At that time, he entered the palace with his mother. I pretended to be a palace maid and offered him some pastries, yet he acted with an air of superiority. No matter what I said, he did not respond. He was quite familiar with Xieling and even gave her a beautiful bamboo dragonfly, which I broke. He held a grudge against me, but I didn't care. When Xieling came to find me, her face turned from black to purple. Then from purple to black. She told me to get out. I knew better than to argue, so I closed my eyes and fainted again. After being sent back to the princess's residence, I had a nightmare, dreaming of my deceased mother, her face twisted and transformed. At times she smiled gently at me. Wanwan, will you go and kill them for me? At other times, she gripped my shoulders hysterically. Cwn, you will never get what you want. Finally, she was bleeding from all 7 orifices, a terrifying sight. You must pave the way for Yunlian. Do you understand? I began to scream. Cheongji rushed over and held my hand. Princess, it's all over now. I jolted upright, clutching my chest. Cold sweat drenched my back. Cheongji was right, it was all over. No one would ever make me deliver poisoned pastries to a pregnant consort again. No one would have me wear a musk sachet and send me to stay at the favored consort's residence. Due to an infected wound, I suffered from recurring high fevers. In my dazed state, I saw a figure in white standing by the window. I tentatively asked, "When Zhaoxue?" He turned around. The red mole beneath his eye was conspicuous. He smiled bitterly. "Why does your highness favor Wen Zhaoxue so much?" I thought for a moment, because he once held an umbrella for me in the snow. If someone else were holding the umbrella, would your highness? Peiji's eyes were urgent, kindling with hope, but I extinguished it abruptly. No, I only like him. His eyes dimmed, devoid of light. She brought the medicine bowl and fed me spoonful by spoonful. After I fell asleep, she said with an expressionless face, "Your highness, you truly make me love and hate you at the same time." After I recovered from my illness, I simply treated it as a dream. What happens in a dream need not be clear. The emperor has ordered a thorough investigation into the assassination attempt. It will yield no results. I know full well who the true culprit is. Xie Juanlian stormed in with anger. According to him, Peiji had impeached him during the morning court session for embezzling relief silver and condoning his subordinate's abduction of civilian women. Other ministers seized the opportunity to submit memorials. Princess Qinghe, showing compassion for the people, reduced the expenses of her household and used the saved silver for disaster relief. Xie Yunlian slammed the desk loudly. Peiji must be tired of living. I looked up. So you intend to kill him? The autumn hunt assassination, that was your doing, wasn't it? You wanted to kill 2 birds with 1 stone, eliminating Xieling and Peiji, and last time. When I was attacked on the street, that was also you trying to frame Peiji, wasn't it? Xie Yunlian's expression darkened. I won't discuss these matters with you. I came to find you because I need your help with something. I want you to marry General Shu. My brow twitched, if I recall correctly. This General Shu already has a wife. As a princess, am I to be a secondary wife or a concubine? Absolutely not, Xie Yunlian patiently persuaded. He holds military power and can be of help to me. You know how influential Xieling has become, I retorted. Isn't that because you're foolish and can't hold your position? Isn't there General Qi in the court who is a woman? She also has a husband. Why don't you marry into her family? Xie Yunlian and I parted on bad terms. But I never expected that he truly was as foolish as a pig, and ended up causing a disastrous incident. It nearly implicated me. Rumors began to circulate in the court that the emperor intended to depose the crown prince. Coupled with the emperor's severe illness, various speculations arose. Xie Yunlian could no longer remain idle and conspired with his faction to rebel. He first surrounded my princess residence. At that time, Peiji brought me the news that Xieling and Wen Zhaoxue had been granted a marriage. Your highness must be very upset. I raised an eyebrow. Who said I'm upset? Rather, it's you who must be feeling uncomfortable seeing the princess and Wen Zhaoxue always together. He remained silent. I thought I had him under my control, deliberately stepping on his sore spots. The princess is of noble status, not someone you can aspire to. I advise you to destroy that secret chamber as soon as possible. Otherwise, if she finds out, even I won't be able to protect you. Peiji raised his voice. Your highness, he dislikes it most when I talk about the secret chamber, But I insist on speaking of it, until his face turns deathly pale. Only then do I slowly approach, grip his neck, and force him to look at me. You have someone else in your heart, and I am very unhappy, whether you dig out the bones or cut open the heart. I tapped his chest. You'd better drive her out of here. The rebels broke in, and I pushed Peiji under the bed. He still struggled, so I knocked him out with a candlestick. Then I sat down in front of the dressing table. The chief advisor stood by my side, unable to conceal the hatred in his eyes. He dared not lay a hand on me. I leisurely picked a purple garnet hairpin from the jewelry box and tucked it into my hair. Let's go. I followed the rebels and stormed the imperial palace, not by choice. It was the chilling long sword at my back. Within the palace walls, Xieling remained calm and composed, as if she had anticipated it all along. Amid the chaos of the two groups clashing, an advisor seized the opportunity to lunge at me. I lifted the hem of my skirt and turned to flee, out of the corner of my eye. I saw the maid I had earlier thrown out of the mansion thrust a sword through his chest. How terrifying! Suddenly, the death bell tolled, accompanied by the eunuch's sharp, thin voice. The emperor has passed away. I didn't turn back. He fled all the way to the Pei residence. Xie Juanlian lost. Demoted to a commoner and exiled 3,000 miles away, he crashed into a sword in shame and fury. Even before his death, he was still cursing me. That wretch Xie Wn deserves a wretched death, clearly. She and I are siblings born of the same mother, yet she helps outsiders harm me. When I heard the news, I was drawing my eyebrows. My hand suddenly trembled, drawing a centipede-like line across my face. I grabbed the vanity case and smashed it on the floor. The contents scattered, rolling to Peiji's feet. He watched me go crazy in silence, not saying a word. I did indeed send a letter to Xieling to protect myself. Because Xie Yunlian is too foolish, he cannot hold the throne securely. He possesses neither the ability to govern the country nor a heart that cares for the people. I just want to be a princess forever, enjoying wealth and luxury. What is wrong with that? How is the situation in the palace? Has the royal sister been looking for me? I eagerly searched Peiji's face for an answer. His face was as somber as still water. His Majesty said Princess Rongan died amidst the chaos of battle. If anyone dares impersonate her, they are to be killed without mercy. Xieling wants me dead. The chills spread from the depths of my heart to my entire body. I steadied myself against the dressing table, barely managing to stand firm. A mocking smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. So what, if you expose me? You won't survive either. Don't forget, only I can cure the jade cardamom. My meaning is, to have your highness become a dead man. Peiji's voice was steady, betraying no emotion. From now on, living in a secret chamber, what audacity. I grabbed something and threw it. Peiji did not dodge. Blood trickled down from his temple. He stared fixedly at me. If your highness is unwilling, you may leave. I will die with you. Peiji knew I had no choice. Because I fear death, I moved into the secret room. Peiji furnished it with many things, all of the finest quality. The portrait was also stored away in a wooden chest. I intended to set it on fire, but Peiji wouldn't allow it. He grabbed my wrist, his face flushed with anger. Your highness, this is my possession. How amusing. He didn't even address himself as your subject anymore. I lie on the white jade couch. Lord Pei, hiding a beauty in a golden house. Aren't you afraid your beloved will find out? Suddenly, his breathing quickens. Your highness, today is the middle of the month. The jade cardamom, it's acting up again. He bent down and touched the hem of my skirt. I tilted my head and looked at him, acting so convincingly. Blood splattered. It was I who pulled the silver hairpin from my hair and plunged it into his shoulder. Are you awake? Peiji's face was as pale as frost, as if he were enduring excruciating pain. He held my hand tightly, not letting me pull away. He struggled to speak. What does your highness mean by this? I leaned closer to his face. That's what I should be asking you. I realized I had mistaken the person in the jade cardamom, so the next day I added the antidote to the tea. Then may I ask, why does Lord Pei still suffer from frequent poisoning? I shifted my gaze to his lower body and chuckled softly. Or perhaps, did you drink something yourself? He opened his mouth, but didn't know how to defend himself. Noise came from outside. General Qi had led troops to surround the Pei residence. Her voice was loud and clear. By the Emperor's order, we are searching for remnants of the rebel faction. Peiji suddenly pushed me away, clutching his shoulder, and stumbled out, "No matter what happens, do not come out through the crack." I saw General Qi enter with his sword drawn. He stopped at the entrance of the secret chamber. Peiji stood blocking the way. Clang, the long sword was drawn and placed against his neck. General Qi applied a little more pressure, and a trickle of blood seeped from his neck. "If you obstruct me again, do not blame me for being ruthless." I twisted the mechanism and walked out. "I am here." Peiji turned around abruptly. Fortunately, General Qi reacted quickly and withdrew his sword in time, avoiding injuring him. Seeing his paper-pale face, I felt like laughing. General Qi cupped his hands in salute. "Princess, His Majesty has ordered me to escort you back." I walked up to Peiji, pinched his injured left shoulder, and watched him bite his lip to endure the pain. Lowering my voice so only he could hear, I said, "Actually, the portrait in your secret chamber is of me, isn't it? Though it bears some resemblance to the princess, the eyes and posture look more like mine." I watched as his expression gradually stiffened. He sneered maliciously. "You guessed right." I gave a hard shove. "Lord Pei was injured by the thieves while saving me. I hope General Qi will apprehend the culprit as soon as possible." He fell to the ground, and against his pale, frosty complexion, that crimson mole appeared even more strikingly vivid. Xieling was reviewing memorials and only looked up from the desk when he saw me enter. She held her forehead and said, "You're here. Did you enjoy the act with Peiji?" The corner of my lips lifted as I played with the sleeve ribbon wrapped around my hand. Nodding at the same time, she said slowly, "I intend to take Wen Zhaoxue as a palace consort. He is willing to enter the palace, and the court won't lack him as a mere official. Rongan, don't blame me. I can't give him to you." I gave her a strange look. "I never said I wanted him. Peiji is just fine. Why would I want to collect two identical people?" As the curtain of rain descended from the horizon, I stepped out of the Hall of Diligent Governance. From afar, I saw Peiji standing beneath the corridor. Holding a green bamboo-ribbed umbrella in his hand, he said softly, "Your Highness, it's raining." This scene felt strangely familiar. After returning to the princess's residence, I happily lay on the couch drinking wine to celebrate. That fool Xie Yunlian can no longer boss me around in front of me. Peiji pushed the door open and came in, frowning at the sight of my drunken state. He snatched the wine glass away. "Your Highness, drinking harms the body." I looked up at him with drunken, bleary eyes. "Tell me, why doesn't Wen Zhaoxue like me?" I was deliberately teasing him. He was silent for a moment, then whispered softly, "Your Highness deserves better." I let out a scornful laugh, reached out to grab his collar, and pulled him closer. "Better? Are you referring to yourself?" Peiji's breath hitched, a turbulent undercurrent surging in his eyes. "This humble subject dares not ask." "You're lying." I released him and lazily leaned back onto the soft couch. "The one who held the umbrella for me that year at the Imperial College was actually you, wasn't it? Only he would call me Your Highness. When Zhaoxue always called me Princess." Peiji's throat moved slightly as he let out a soft I smiled, reaching out to touch his face. "Peiji, you're truly pitiful." Peiji leaned down, his breath warm against my ear. I'd gladly endure it. On the day the new consort was welcomed, Peiji accompanied me into the palace to offer congratulations. He disappeared halfway. Coincidentally, when Zhaoxue invited me to the Imperial Garden, saying there was an important matter to discuss, when I arrived, I happened to witness Peiji stabbing a dagger into Wen Zhaoxue's abdomen. He stood frozen in place, at a loss, still gripping the hilt tightly. The palace attendants around me gasped in surprise, but I silenced them. "Lord Pei," I called out softly, "aren't you going to flee?" He snapped back to reality and released his grip. Wen Zhaoxue, losing support, staggered backward and fell to the ground. Blood stained his robe. He gave a miserable smile, which tugged at his wounds, and suddenly coughed up blood. "Princess, do not blame Peiji. He acted on impulse." When Zhaoxue was carried away, Xieling was furious, and the order to capture Peiji was passed down through the ranks. Within the imperial city, his portraits were plastered everywhere. If not for my arrangements, he wouldn't even have made it past the palace gates. In the middle of the night, a torrential downpour began. Half asleep and half awake, I heard a knock-knock sound. Opening my eyes, I saw Peiji drenched all over, his hair sticking to his face. He stood before my bed. In an instant, I thought it was a demon coming to claim my life. He slowly parted his lips. Your Highness, do you blame me? His lips were pale. Is that all you came to ask? I laughed in frustration. Do you know my elder sister wants you dead? How dare you show up so brazenly at my princess manor? The implication is, don't drag me into this. Not just for that. His Adam's apple bobbed, a hint of anticipation in his voice. I also want to ask your Highness one thing. If I were no longer the censor-in-chief, but instead burdened with a crime, would your Highness be willing to take me in? How ridiculous. Should I build a secret chamber for him as well? It might not be a bad idea. I walked to the dressing table and took out the brown pill from the jade bottle. Take this, and I can guarantee your safety. Peiji reached out to take it, but I dodged his hand. I pressed my
The Emperor. None of the concubines in the harem could ever get pregnant again. Father only has the 3 of us left as his children. The crown prince position will undoubtedly be my elder brother's. You can't wrap fire in paper. On the day the truth came to light, Mother set a fire in the palace. My royal brother had been sent away by her in advance. Flames shot into the sky as she gripped my shoulders, her expression frenzied. Xie Dublin, you must pave the way for your royal brother. Do you understand? I nodded. Judging by her look, if I refused, she would surely drag me to death with her. She finally let go of me. I desperately ran outside. Behind me came the sound of the roof beam collapsing. My mother seemed to be trapped, groaning in pain. I didn't turn back. That was the day I met Peiji. He was strikingly handsome. When I fell, he came to help me up. I lied and claimed to be Xieling's maid. I often met with him. But it was always me talking, and him listening. I thought that was just his personality, not fond of speaking. Until I caught him giving a bamboo dragonfly to Xieling. It had to be Xieling, my arch-nemesis. Furious, I snatched the bamboo dragonfly, snapped it in 2, and stormed off. Xieling chased after me. Wanwan, you can't do this. I pushed her away. None of your business. It was also during that autumn hunt that Xieling saved me. I was originally following Xielian, but he found me a nuisance and ditched me halfway. I encountered a wild boar. When knocked down, a sharp arrow pierced through the clouds. It shot through the wild boar's body. Xieling sat on the horse. Radiant and captivating, she reached out her hand to me. I think Xieling might not be as bad as my mother said, but only might. As we grew older, we went to study at the Imperial Academy. I met Wen Zhaoxue. He was gentle and polite. He was very close with Xieling. Most importantly, he had a face identical to Peiji's. How amusing. I tease him every day. After Xieling came to warn me, I became even more unrestrained, saying I had fallen for her childhood sweetheart. It wasn't long. A drought struck Chongju, and the relief funds were embezzled layer by layer, leaving almost nothing for the refugees. People kept coming to the capital to appeal directly to the emperor. However, most never even made it through the city gates before quietly losing their lives. At court, censors reported the situation. The last pair of emaciated mother and daughter stood before the emperor. That day, he summoned all 3 of us to show us what refugees looked like. The mother and daughter carried a heavy odor, their hair matted into clumps. Xie Yunlian was so frightened that he stepped back several paces, covering his nose. The little girl's cheeks were sunken, but her eyes were startlingly bright. She was drawn to Xie Yunlian. She reached out, trying to grab his robe. Xieling intercepted her, holding her in her arms to soothe her. I noticed her gaze lingering on the pastries on the table, so I handed her the entire plate. She looked up innocently and asked, "Can I take these back to share with our Hu and Xiao Tian?" The atmosphere was unusually tense. I don't like this feeling. After returning, Xie Yunlian bathed for a long time. The hall was also filled with heavy incense, and he impatiently said to me, "What are these lowly commoners doing here? I've been tainted by their foul smell." I replied softly, "Their life-saving money was embezzled." Xie Yunlian scolded, "Is this little money worth making a fuss over?" I shook my head. Without money, they would die. Later, Xieling and Xie Yunlian confronted each other as equals in the imperial court. The emperor tacitly allowed it. Watch them fight. Later, Xie Yunlian recruited a large number of advisors, and a highly capable death row inmate was sent to the Eastern Palace. It was said that this man had wiped out an entire family of a pharmacist, with only the daughter who was out gathering herbs surviving. To eliminate any future trouble, Xie Yunlian wanted her dead. I made some arrangements and sent the dying girl to Xieling. The girl was skilled in both medicine and martial arts. She gradually became a capable right-hand woman by Xieling's side. The moonlight slanted in through the carved wooden window as I sat at the desk, propping my chin in thought. I'm thinking, if Xieling Ruo ascends the throne, She would be a good emperor.